To order. We'll have invocation this morning and then also the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we thank you for another day. We thank you for this college. We thank you for all the people that we touch, all the people that work here, the lives that are blessed on a daily basis through St. Petersburg College. Give us the wisdom and the know-how to be better than we are today, tomorrow. All his blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name, in whom I pray, and in whose name you may pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All the preliminary matters, there are none. Move on to the board comments. Any board members have any comments this morning?
Nothing here, Mr. Chair.
Nothing here.
None from me either. I was just a little upset that I missed the last board meeting. I got stuck in Tallahassee. If anybody's ever been to Tallahassee, it's airport is kind of small, and you can get there usually 30 minutes ahead of time. Now they've gone to the toll booth type of concept where they're not even at the desk anymore. So if you get there 30 minutes ahead of time, you miss your plane. So I'm sorry about the last meeting that I missed it. So please forgive me in that. The approval of the minutes from last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I have just a couple of matters, if you could.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. President. I went right past you. I'm sorry.
If you would, a couple of really nice things, and we'll take just a second. Stan, would you come to the podium, please? In our last month, in our going back and forth, whatnot, I did not take time to recognize the Business of the Year for Economic Advancement presented to St. Petersburg College by the Clearwater Regional Chamber. St. Petersburg College is a euphemism for the great work Stan Vidito has done with that chamber over a long period of time, and I think the appropriate place for this, Stan, would be approximate to your office.
Thank you.
The work that you've done.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, we received notice this week that Lene Richardson has been selected this year's Sandy Miller Award athlete recipient for women's basketball. This honor goes to a women's basketball player in the state who has demonstrated academic excellence and prowess. Lene is a sophomore, currently a 3.91 GPA, so very, very nicely done. We're very proud of our students when that occurs for the athletes. Let's, I think a round of applause for Lene Richardson would be. It's that time of year where people start making choices for for where they go to school, and I want to indicate that two things are occurring. One is a good effort by Vice President Williams and her staff to do getting started at college, fast and easy, an outreach. And Tanja, you told me, but last night, how many?
We had 153 applications completed.
On the first night of the program, so sounds like something that's worth pursuing. I did want to also alert you that the good work being done by our financial aid people, which is of course fundamental to the program, but we have FAFSA nights, okay, in the last several weeks. 448 students across a handful of schools have already participated. I think we have a meeting with the principals or the leadership team from Pinellas County School District this week, and we'll probably make sure that the rest of the schools feel served. It's not our choosing them, it's always the principal asking us to come visit, so we're there. Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Law, how are these being distributed? This is very good information. I just want to make sure.
I need to, Tanja?
Those were, Patrick, were those direct mail to the students' home.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should consider, and to the high schools?
To the high school students, to their homes.
Oh, okay. Good.
So we'll keep going. We're trying lots of different things to try to get ourselves in front of folks. And then if you would, just a very brief introduction. We are very fortunate to have Sabrina Crawford join our team as Executive Director for Institutional Search. There's Sabrina. She it's very complex. You have to follow this. She's really Jesse's replacement, but if you call Jesse took Kay Burniston's spot, and we finally have everybody seated. The music stopped and everybody's in a chair, so we okay. So, but she brings a great background in institutional research and in accreditation-related issues, with, I should say, an additional part of outreach engagement with K-12. So, a really valuable new member of our team. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your indulgence. Okay.
No, thank you, Dr. Hall. Those are very good things to point out. We will need a motion to accept the minutes from the February 19th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
It's properly moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing. Motion passes. Mr. Lang, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I see you brought your better half with you this morning.
Clearly. My wife, Elsie.
Yeah, stand up, Miss Lang. Let everybody see you.
Have nothing to report today.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Gardner?
Mr. Chair, I have nothing to report today.
Okay. And Mr. J.C. Brock, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm happy to share with you a program that's been in formation for about a year in concert with our local fire agencies. As you know, the Allstate Center is the home to the PSAV Academy programs of law enforcement, corrections, and firefighting. One of the programs that we've been embarking on to enhance the students' out of classroom experience, if you will, is an internship for our firefighters. It's a very competitive field. There were only 37 firefighters hired within the county last year, so it's difficult to get in. We work closely with the agencies to provide them a pool of students to meet their needs. And the addition of this internship program, the first of its kind in the state, I think will give our graduates a significant advantage when they're competing with others for positions within the county and throughout the state. It's a 200-hour post-academy program designed for our students once they complete the academy and are preparing to enter the workforce of supervised practical experience and with classroom instruction. The biggest advantage the students will receive, they will receive certifications from the Florida State Fire College in the three noted areas, which are usually obtained within their first year of employment at the expense of the agency or at the student's own expense of having to take time off and go to Ocala and obtain these different certifications. So they will receive these within the internship program. They are also integrated into our fire science technology program as college credit courses in pursuit of an associate's degree, and we hope this will be an impetus for these students not only to receive their certifications, go to work, but then hopefully invite them back into our AS programs and continue on with their associate's degree. It is both classroom and practical experience. The students will actually spend time in a firehouse, sleeping over, waking up in the middle of the night, responding to calls, to be sure that this is something that they have the attitude and aptitude for, as well as giving the agencies an opportunity to view these students and make an assessment of their ability to perform in the workplace. We have 9 students that started with us in January. They are all still with us. They will travel through August and hopefully complete the program at August, and by that time we're confident that they will all obtain employment, hopefully in Pinellas, but at least somewhere nearby in the state. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions, board members?
New program?
Yes, sir.
Just started.
In January, yes, sir.
Great.
Thank you. Great.
JC, thank you. That's a great presentation. Looks like a great program. Are we going to get any federal funding for this? Do you know of any federal funding we can get?
There's nothing out there. We're beating the bushes, as you know,
Sure.
constantly looking. But right now, it's a fee-paying program.
Oh,
We've
okay.
supplemented the cost. We've got a lot of volunteer instructors. It's very intensive for instructor because of a ratio factor, but the students are paying an additional a fee to attend the 200 hours.
Great.
JC, I will follow up, Mr. Chairman, that the legislature is compiling a list of certifications that they want to be sure get supported downstream, and we'll just double check if these are on that list.
The only other reason I asked that question is, and I know JC will find out, because he and Harry Glenn will talk all the time, is because it's my understanding that if you are trained in fire services now and you're young enough that you can still go in the military, they're looking for military firefighters for some reason. And it may be some federal funding out there.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Dr. Nain still?
Morning.
Good morning.
The mission of the College of Business is to produce ethical and competent business practitioners. And I'd like to highlight what we're doing in 4 areas to make our students more successful as business practitioners. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about project management. Its field has really taken off in the last 10 years. And to help our students become more successful practitioners of project management, we've partnered with local PMI chapters in Hillsborough and Pinellas County, along with the national PMI chapter, to design a curriculum that's based on project management competencies as defined by their PMBOK manual. As a result of our partnerships with PMI in curriculum development, we're able to gain registered approved status for a registered educational provider, or REP. This certification status means that our courses are approved for continuing education credit, and students completing the curriculum will receive 1,200 hours towards the project management exam. The program began in the fall of 2011. We have about 80 students in the program, 60 to 70 which are active every semester, and we believe it will gain more traction as soon as it is approved for financial aid. It hasn't been approved for financial aid yet. With regards to sustainability management, we are partnering with a number of local companies, which I've listed on the slide, to train practitioners in this growing area. What we're doing with sustainability management to help student success in this field is during the semester of their senior capstone year, our students actually working in the company on part-time projects. They worked on a number of projects, including product packaging, waste reduction, reduction of life cycle in sustainability, and general sustainability audits. We have 48 graduates of the program in the last 3.5 years. They've gotten jobs in companies like Bosch & Lomb, Dollar General. Some are green entrepreneurs. Others have gone to the Peace Corps, and we have several students in the Patel Graduate School at the University of South Florida in sustainability management. Also, you might have read about one of our recent graduates, Brian Blackford, in the blue and white. He wrote a successful $1.8 million grant for the Science Center in Pinellas County, and he's developing a hands-on environmental education model for students in high schools. Our entrepreneurship program, according to Harris poll, I've given you some data up there, 1 in 4 Americans want to start their own business. Recently, we began a project with SCORE for returning veterans. It's called the Accelerated Certificate in Entrepreneurship for Veterans. It's paid for by a grant from the Walmart Foundation, and it gives vets 3 credits towards our AS certificate in entrepreneurship. We are on our 2nd reiteration of the class. It's been so successful that we've been getting inquiries from across the country on the program. Recently, a representative from Congressman Chris Gibbons' office in the 9th District of New York contacted us about the course and would like us to develop something for them in New York. Our major effort in this area is and also in this area is the St. Pete College annual business plan. I have listed that there under the entrepreneurship program. We worked with our internal entrepreneurship champion, Dr. Oliver, and a number of local entrepreneurs on the 3rd annual business plan competition. This occurs in April at the Seminole Digitorium. There's significant prize money for students, $5,000 for first prize in the business plan competition, and $1,000 for the elevator pitch competition. It's all funded through local donations from small businesses and organizations in Pinellas County. Finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about leadership in our student capstone. In 2010, we reorganized the technology and business programs, and we officially became the Department of Business, the College of Business. We adopted a new senior capstone philosophy and went to a simulation called the Business Strategy Game, or the BSG simulation. This is a national benchmark of student success and is used by over 1,000 colleges worldwide. Teams of students run an international shoe company for 16 weeks, and they use real-time data supplied by the Wall Street Journal. We have been very successful at it. Our CLB teams have finished in the top 3 5 times in the last 2.5 years. So we have done a number of partnerships with local organizations and business in order to make our students more successful.
Any questions?
Questions?
I have one.
Sure.
Sir, under the sustainability bullet and the companies that you've listed, are those, would they be like internships?
Yes. What they do is they actually work in the company. They
Paid?
work on projects, teams, our students. Our
Are they
students.
paid?
No. It's part, they get credit for the senior capstone. And they have participated through WebEx and a number of electronic media in the company if they have real jobs. With Bosch and Loam, we run one every semester. They work on project teams, and they meet actually in the company. Some have been flown to North Carolina. One was flown to Ireland to work on a project in sustainability. Some work, some don't work. If they work, they participate via WebEx or one of the other electronic meeting.
But they're generally working with the company at their location?
Yes,
For what period of time?
16 weeks, semester. Sometimes it goes beyond that, and they've hired some of our students.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have one. Mr. Fine, you have any questions? Dr. Law, maybe we should take one of these students and ask them to help us with our business plan so they know how the college is run too.
I think that would be a good
As
idea.
as a board,
I
and then
think that'd
come
be a
to
good
our
idea.
annual meeting and see how we set
Let's
those things
talk
up. I
business
think
about
that's a good
business.
idea. We got them out in the community doing things, and if we can utilize them here as well, we should be able, we should
Well, I was
do that.
planning to take a trip with the guy to Ireland next, okay? So then we'll work on the next
There you
piece
go.
after
Hey,
this,
hey, so
okay?
there you go.
We'll just take them in order.
We also have another internship with Tech Data in Costa Rica. You
Wow.
might wanna-
Even better.
Is that all right? Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There's no old business, so we're down to our student SGA president, right, with our update? Is that right?
Yes, I know I have referenced several times Jared Ferrera's role in the state, and I was going to put him in with just the normal range of deans and others, but I wanted to give Jared just a little more visibility and face time. He's doing a superb job for this college and the state. Jared, tell the board what you'd like them to know about student initiatives.
Thank you very much, Dr. Law. Board, thank you for having me here. I want to say I'm really proud to be a graduate of PHCC and now here at St. Petersburg College, continuing our tradition of now having the state president for our state executive board 2 years running. And a little bit about why I wore the button and stuff today. We recently came from Tallahassee. We went and did our rally and tally where we met with 123 scheduled meetings, and we had a program that we called the Hit Every Office campaign, where we had professional leaflets printed up, and we went to every single office telling every representative and their aides who we are and what we stand for. And I think my professor, I'm in the Public Policy and Administrations program with Professor Jeff Cronschnabel, and he always says that the mood, the attitude is set from the top down. And I try to carry myself in a way that's cool, calm in any situation that happens. I had a little car trouble this morning, and instead of panicking, I just turned around, grabbed another vehicle, and headed back out to try and make it here on time. And with that attitude, and with the attitude of we need to make these representatives invested in us in a personal way, by making that personal connection, that friendship with them, they're going to be more invested in what we believe in and what we want to do. And we've worked with Senator Latvala and Representative Peterson to draft the SB 260 and House Bill 539 for in-state tuition for our veterans, no matter where they come from, just requiring that they take actual physical classes, so it's going to bring those veterans to the state. We've also been working alongside with the Council of Presidents to help reinstate dual enrollment funding, which was one of our issues that our students voted on as well. So our students definitely understand the climate that we're in this year and moving forward. And our real goal is to put a better face on our organization, on state student government, to show that we are intelligent adults who vote. We're not just kids who go to conferences and party all the time. We're here to solve real issues for our students and to fight for a real cause that we believe in. And our students have done an outstanding job this year, and I couldn't be more proud to be a member of St. Petersburg College.
Thank you.
Bravo. Well, you are definitely cool and calm.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You make us all proud. Appreciate your service and your leadership. It's great. You're a great role model, and I can see how you would be inspiring those who are working with you to reach higher. So congratulations, and thanks for making the extra effort to be here this morning.
It was my pleasure. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
It's great.
It's
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you. You did a great job, Jared.
Thank
as
you.
usual. We have a veterans update from Jeff Kavanaugh. Jeff, just before you come up, I'll tell you that Dr. Law and I had a great meeting with WorkNet Pinellas. I mean, I just want to be number 1 next year, not number 15 on that list. I know that has nothing to do with you, because we've never been ranked before, so we're finally in the running, but I want to be number 1 on that list
That's all right.
next year.
It actually has a lot to do with me. We will definitely try to be number 1 for you, sir. Not a problem. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, also Dr. Law, thanks for having me here today. My name is Jeff Kavanaugh. I'm the Director of Veteran Services for SPC. I'm a retired Navy Surface Warfare Officer. You have already the full version of this Veteran Services PowerPoint in front of you, but I've been asked in the interest of time to present a summarized version, and I'll focus on our trends and accomplishments. So what are we about? We're about service for our veteran students. Our number 15 ranking that you just mentioned, that was based on a Military Times comprehensive 30-page survey that was done over a 2-year period. The emphasis was on staff. We were shopped. We were actually called and shopped. We received a 4-star rating. There is no rating higher. We emphasize easy access and also connection. While the college's overall numbers have calmed down some in the past years, veteran student numbers have continued to increase. This year, we're serving over 1,834 veteran students among the 7 campuses. We serve over 2,000 if we include their dependents and those military individuals who are not using their GI Bill benefits. Overall, we're showing a steady increase in minority numbers also. So numbers are up. Why is that? We found early on that strong partnerships help our students to succeed. It also helps attract new students. One of our most rewarding partnerships has been the development of the Student Veterans Association, or the SVA. This is the Student Veterans Association at St. Petersburg College. The SVA has grown rapidly and now boasts chapters on 4 of the main campuses. They are allied directly with the Student Veterans of America, which is based in Washington, D.C., and lends a powerful political voice. In 2 short years, they have sponsored military appreciation nights with the St. Petersburg College baseball teams, who won their last game that we were actually really happy to see, against the University of Tampa. And they also sponsored military appreciation nights with the men's and women's basketball teams. They attend all of the quad events on our behalf, and they've attended the National Student Veterans of America meetings 2 years in a row as our representatives. They support residency for veterans in the state and have sent point papers to that effect to the state legislature. They also assist in organizing all events on campus, especially those involving the military. How successful have we been? Our success rates are closely aligned to the rest of SPC students. We do show an increase in Fs received over the rest of the student body. This can be fairly easily explained in that our policy is to stay the course in a class. If a student inadvertently or advertently decides to withdraw from a class after drop add, they stand the chance of being charged for that class by the Department of Veterans Affairs. The VA will allow another attempt and will pay for that F should that happen. The integration of the college experience and veterans tutoring veterans program will help us to address this particular concern. We encourage them to stay the course. So how much does this cost? Well, it's not bad, actually. The Department of Education grant pays for the Veteran Services Advisors on the Seminole and the Tarpon Springs campuses, but that is in its last year. This is something that we are concerned about and are working on ways to retain enrollment and to retain those particular locations. Enrollment has grown dramatically at both sites and gives us cause to want to keep them. The foundation grant, the small foundation grant, pays for veterans tutors and for Veteran Individual Student Learning Plan Assistance. So who makes this work? This is our staff. Our Veteran Services, we support a Veteran Services advisor on the Clearwater, the St. Pete Gibbs, the Seminole, and the Tarpon Springs campuses. They man the one-stop shops that are also known as Centers of Excellence for Veteran Student Success. And that name really bears out what happens. This is where they actually connect. We're working steadily toward Veteran Services representation on all campuses. I'd like to personally thank Dr. Law and Dr. Williams for their wholehearted support of our program, as well as the Board of Trustees for allowing me some time today to report on this highly successful program. Are there any questions?
Just congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. Great work.
Likewise, great work. Thank you, Jeff. We
You're
appreciate all you do.
Yeah.
Number one next year.
That's right, number one.
Please,
Give me all the surveys.
please do, in the packet, all of the demographics and everything else, but in the fullness of time, we decided that you can see what the growth has looked like and where it's been, but Jeff did a great job pulling that report together.
Very impressive.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Law, thank you so much for putting I asked for a while ago about the disability resources, and I appreciate you putting it on here. Ms. Peg Connell's next. I know the reason I asked that is I've been getting a lot of questions from parents and students about accommodations, how accommodations are made by instructors. Some feel like they haven't gotten them, some feel like it's been good, so I just want to be able to.
We have some real
I
progress
think
to
that,
report.
and I think that's important for
Yes.
the board to be able to answer those questions, but also who do we direct them to when things,
That's a good issue.
yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board and Dr. Law. And I do thank you for your interest in our students with disabilities, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. As with the veterans, you received the longer report, which has all of our demographics. And again, also in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through that. I'm just going to bring out some highlights. One of the things that I do want to point out to you is that the major legislation that requires us to provide accommodations is the Americans with Disabilities Act. And when they reauthorized it last year, they expanded the definition of disability in terms of what they considered major life activities. And they included in major life activities things like concentrating, learning, thinking, and reading, among others, such as just being able to walk and see and talk. So that really expands it an awful lot into looking at our students and how they learn. Oops. Who are our students, actually? And in terms of the growth, what we have found over the past year is that we have seen an increase in students who are coming into our offices requesting services. We have on any given semester between 900 and 1,000 students being served on our campuses. That from 2011 and 2012 into 2012 is an increase of about 200 students. The other thing that we're seeing is an increase in the nature of the disabilities in terms of students with psychological and mental disabilities. Over 50% of the students that we serve have been diagnosed with some form of a mental or psychological disability. This might be attention deficit disorder, emotionally handicapped. We're seeing an increase in students on the autism spectrum, in particular Asperger's, and also students with severe emotional disabilities such as schizophrenia, maybe bipolar disorders, and borderline personality disorders. And this, of course, is having an impact on our campuses. The other increase that we are seeing in terms of our students is an increase in the African American and Hispanic students that are coming to us asking for services. And we're reaching out more and more to those students. We're reaching out on some of our campuses more, especially Midtown and downtown. We've seen a double of the growth of students at Midtown from the number of students that we served a year ago. As far as our success rates go, we do see with students with disabilities that our success and withdrawal rates are lower than the overall college picture. And we're taking a serious look at this right now, and we're looking at strategies to improve this. Sometimes the withdrawal rates do have to do very specifically with a student's disability. They get ill, they cannot continue. However, we believe that we can, at bare minimum, bring our student success rates up to the level that the college is at. Some of the strategies that we are employing to make that happen are making sure that the students with disabilities are fully engaged in the college experience. About 448, I think it is, of our students right now have learning plans out of the 900 students that we're working with. We're looking at the overall picture of the college experience. We encourage our students to take advantage of out-of-class support, especially tutoring. The other thing that we really believe is that as our staff and our faculty, including our disability resources staff, are fully trained and better trained, our students will do better. So we've really put a large emphasis this year and in the coming year on a systematic training of staff. We're training advisors in how do you advise students with disabilities. We're training faculty in how do you work with students with varying disabilities, and also giving faculty some specific training in when they have students with mental and psychological disabilities in their classroom. And we're also training our own staff in intensive training with the college experience. One of the things that has become very important to us are the partnerships that we formed in the community and in the college. Pinellas County Schools in particular is a very important partner for recruiting and also professional development. We work with a lot of the different, Pinellas County Schools has organized quite a few interagency committees upon which we serve that deal with agencies that work with students with disabilities. And a lot of that, for our purposes, is with transitioning services. We also are very closely connected with our inter-college partnerships, our veteran services, really encouraging our veterans to disclose. Veterans as a whole do not like to disclose that they have disabilities. So we try to find other ways to provide services for them. Women on the Way, student support services, career services, all the different partnerships that we have inter-college as well. Just a couple things that we are doing that we feel are working very well. One is an annual conference that we provide. It's called Narrowing the Gulf. This year we're in our 14th year, and it's being held on April 4th and 5th of this year right here at the college. It's actually a statewide conference recognized throughout the state as one of the finest conferences that deal with issues impacting students with disabilities. And we also provide, it also allows us an opportunity to provide training to our faculty and staff. The Able Trust Grant, we're into the first 9 months of that grant. We have exceeded the first year deliverables for that grant. We actually committed to serving 60 students over a 3-year period with Able Trust in terms of helping them find jobs. Right now, our staff person working with our students has a caseload of well over 100 students. So we've well exceeded the number of students we said we would serve in 3 years. We said in the first year we would place 15 students. We're 3/4 into the first year, and we have placed 15 students in 19 different jobs. Some of our students have chosen to take 2 jobs because they're very anxious to pay off their student loans. Finally, looking at our enrollment, we do a lot of marketing through new student orientations. We do a lot of marketing through brochures on campuses, word of mouth, and we are finding this past year a 25% increase in student participation. And finally, what are our resources? Our annual budget for this year was $2,065,740, and that is funded over four different funds. Primarily, our Fund 10 is our primary focus. Perkins helps out a lot, both with direct and indirect help, with some tutoring help, and also Perkins helps to provide some of the staff salaries that we use. We have in Fund 7, which is our facility staff, helps to make sure that our facilities are accessible. And finally, the Able Trust Grant, which is really funded over a 3-year period. And you can see here our staffing patterns and how we staff. We have staff represented on each campus. That's all I have for now, but I think you might have some questions about
I
accommodations and
think so.
such.
Mr. Brett?
I want to congratulate you. I saw this article in the Neighborhood Times.
Oh, thank you for
Sure.
bringing that up, yes.
Last Wednesday, which talks about the success of your program and references the Able Trust. And I thought it was great that you were on the agenda today, so I could at least acknowledge that. This is a
Thank
great
you.
article, and
It is.
for the board members that maybe didn't see it.
Thank you very much.
How do you identify the students? Obviously, they need to come to you.
Right.
But is there some type of outreach where you are making your services known publicly? How do you do that?
We do that in a variety of ways. We attend all new student orientations and talk to the new students about that. This week, actually, we are having a Welcome to SPC Disability Resources on all of our campuses, where we've gotten word out to all the high schools, especially the special ed classes, and we've invited students to make appointments to come in, tour our campuses, meet our disability resources staff. A lot of it is word of mouth, but we also go into usually the student success classes, the SLS classes. We ask to go and speak to the students in those classes whenever we have an opportunity. And the other side of that, too, is our informing and training of staff and faculty. Because often it's an advisor or a faculty member who will refer a student to us. But they do need to come to us. The big difference from high school and college is that high school, they're followed, they're handheld all the way through. They get to college, and it's like, poof, you have to be on your own. And we really try to work with them very closely that first year. But they do need to disclose to us. We do not go out and pull them in off the street.
Sure, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
I have a few. I'm glad to hear that we, after they're identified, that we try to get them all the resources. One of the comments, and I get all the time, is that instructors don't take it seriously. So I hear you're doing training.
Right.
What happens if a student feels like that they're not, the accommodations haven't been made for them, or there aren't accommodations being made for them by that instructor? What should they do?
Okay, what we encourage them to do, and we work very hard with our students in what we call training them in self-advocacy. We train them in how should they speak to an instructor, what are the effective communication techniques that they can use. They can always go back to their disability resource specialist on their campus, or they can call me, and we will move on it right away. Sometimes it's just a case of talking with the faculty member and making things work. Sometimes, whenever we can, we really like for the students to work it out with the faculty member with our kind of mentoring and working with them. But if they can't, we always are willing to intervene and work with the faculty member.
And you talked about tutoring earlier. Is that a part of their learning plan when they come in now? Do we make sure that that's a part of their learning plan?
It actually depends on their, yes, it is. I'm going to say yes. We encourage them all to take advantage of tutoring. Tutoring is not a required accommodation by law. It's a service that we offer all of our students. On some of our campuses, we have some tutors who are especially trained in working with students with learning disabilities and those strategies. And some of our students, we do refer to those tutors. But we encourage all of our students to take advantage of the Learning Support Commons.
I hate to do this to Joe Leopold, but one of the things that he does very well is has students and the tutors talk to folks who have been in their situation so that they know that it works. Have we done that with students that have had these accommodations before and have utilized the programming that's in place, so such as the tutoring? So if you have had these accommodations but you still struggle and you've made it through, we've actually had them graduate or get their AA or complete a certificate program, whatever. Have we had some of those students come and talk to the incoming students and say, look, this is not, 'cause I say that because some students feel like because they have accommodations, they feel instructors feel they're dumb.
Right.
And if there are other people that have been in this process that have come and made it through, then sometimes you can see yourself in them. And they can inspire you a little bit more to utilize some of these programs and give you some, it's easier to get it from a student than it is from me or you or even Dr. Law. So have we looked at utilizing that as a mechanism or a method of making sure that some of these young people understand, you're not dumb, you just need help.
Right.
And we have that help, and here's someone who's been successful at getting there by utilizing the programs.
We haven't done a lot of that, but that is certainly something that we will look into as we move forward in our plans for next year. Absolutely. And the one thing that we do encourage students, and we tell faculty and advising staff, all of our staff, the purpose of accommodations is not to give students a leg up on other students. The purpose is to level the playing field so that they're starting at the same level as all of our other students. But thank you, Mr. Gibbons. I like that suggestion. We will definitely take that to heart.
I just remember when I was in college, I didn't listen to my instructors. I listened to the other people that are around me, so maybe that'll work. I don't know.
Thank you. We will
Thank
definitely
you.
move forward
This was
with
very
that.
informative. Thank you so much. And that was one of the reasons I want to be more informed, and I want the board members to be more informed when we get these questions. We can answer them. And that was an area that I was in limbo. I couldn't answer the question.
Well, you can always feel very free to call me. If a student should call you and say they're not getting their
Don't worry.
accommodations, please don't hesitate to give them my
I'm
number.
going to get your number before we leave here.
Great, I'll be glad to do that. Thank you so much. I
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Peg has been, she's very professional. She has worked very hard in the last year to be sure that that everything we know that we can appropriately convey in order to be sure all the resources come together. It's a very careful dialogue that has to happen because there's some confidentiality issues and all of those kinds of things. But faculty are now much more aware that a student may need some accommodation at the point of the test. That dialogue happens early on so that we're not on test day finding out that the student needs an extra hour, but nobody's made arrangements for that to happen. So Peg and her team have been very diligent in making sure the other advisors are well aware of how they can help. Her staff can't do it all, so, and then reaching out. So
And Dr.
I think
Law,
we're on the same page here.
We are, and I'll tell you, one thing that I always tell folks that approach me about this is that the instructor can't say this person is being accommodated in class. You have to remember that, and so we expect a lot of the instructors, but, they have to also be very confidential about what's going on with that individual. So I think the questions that I got, I think are more around that kind of issue, that they really don't feel the instructors making the accommodations, but they can't make the accommodation with 25 other people in class, and I don't think some people really understand.
Two problems. Sometimes they can't do it, and sometimes they don't know to do it, okay? So Peg has been very proactive in this area, Mr. Chairman, and we're making great progress. So it's a very valuable piece. You see the growth. I mean, people are identifying with more needs. So
Sure.
We're going to stay the course on this one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a good presentation. Bids and expenditures, I guess we have update information from the protest.
Well, I wanted to be sure that a very difficult issue does appear on our agenda so that there's so that everything is above board. We were alerted after the last board meeting that the Peter R. Brown Construction was going to contest the award of the Midtown General Contractor contract to Gilbane. We have received their protest. You have, and I have attached in the public record, our response to their protest. I will indicate to you that your attorney, Mr. Lang, and the college attorney, Ms. Gardner and Brian Miles, the deputy attorney, have worked very closely. We have submitted this, and then the operative thing is that tomorrow the mandated mediation session will take place at mid-morning tomorrow. So the state law requires us to sit down with them and to review all of what we have. We'll know a lot more about where this is headed after tomorrow. We have been exceptionally, I think, careful and detailed in our response to their concerns, and then some of it is just we're doing things differently than we've done them in the past, and that has created some confusion and some concern.
Board members, any comments?
Could I ask to be, after the meeting, that we be briefed immediately in case we do we have to change direction or anything and not wait till the next board meeting?
Let me just be sure I understand. Is it 11 o'clock tomorrow morning? Is that what time the meeting?
It's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. We'll give you a briefing before, as soon as we have a report, we will, you'll get a communication from my office, okay?
I agree with Captain Fine. I'd just like for each board member to have an opportunity to talk to you and our attorneys to make sure we know where we are
Okay.
moving forward, and what our, what the alternatives are. What do we need to do to move the process forward?
Let me be sure. If we need to take action, we will convene a single point, very short board meeting to confirm the action to take. Is that the direction of the board? Is that, let's see where we are, but that would be one of the options that we want. I don't want to get in front of the board. That's my only concern.
I guess, and you guys can tell me if I would just prefer us to have you individually, let's talk about it, and then from that point on, we can talk about it with the attorneys and make sure as each, and you can read each one of us and where we need to go from there.
And you have, of course, your
Yeah,
relationship with your
yeah.
attorney is
Is wide
is the
open.
best place for you to have your dialogue.
I can tell you that Mr. Lang has been more than open with me. Answers every call, calls me back, and we have discussed it through and through and through. And maybe we should just have the one-on-one dialogue with the president and our attorneys, and then see where we go from there.
I'll call you individually after tomorrow. Thank you.
Moving forward, we're on other expenditures. Working at Pinellas, is there there's an action that needs to take here, we need to take here? On the training agent agreement? We need a motion, Doctor?
Standard, yeah, this, we do these.
It's been moved and seconded, it's been seconded. Second by Mr. Brett, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing, we move forward to grants and contracts. Item D.
Once again, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
members
it's
of the
just
board,
simple. You want to take up D?
continuity
and-
of existing grants.
You want to take up D and E, board members?
Yep. So moved.
It's been moved, second. Any discussion? All signify by saying aye. Aye, none opposing. We're on to the agency billings.
This one is, again, a
Simple.
standing item. Periodically, we bring you a list of, by law, we are required to identify agencies for whom we will bill, so as students appear, we then have the flexibility to bill them downstream. So this list gets updated periodically.
I hear a motion, except item F.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? None. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposing. We're on to human resources report, personnel report. Do we want to hear the personnel report, or do we just want to take it up?
Move approval.
Just the personnel report, just,
I would say one A,
1A.
and
I
then
do
let's
have
go
a-
to,
yeah, I do
let's
have
go
a
to
comment
B.
about B.
Yeah. Is that okay, Mr. Brett?
Perfect.
Second?
second.
No discussion, signify by saying aye.
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 And we're on to the Fox Lawson class and compensation study.
Mr. Chairman, we have a streamlined presentation, but let's take the time necessary, okay? But the PowerPoint here does not have all the slides that you have in your, what we sent to you, okay? And that's just for the interest of time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to share with you Fox Lawson's report back to all of us about this part of the study that focused on the A&P part of the college. You recall that the career service portion came to you in June and was implemented last July. The objectives of this part of the study remain the same as they did for the career service: internal equity, appropriately slotting jobs to the correct pay grade based on their duties and responsibilities, and creating an improved way to evaluate how we slot jobs onto the salary schedule, all the while making sure that our salaries are competitive. Fox Lawson's process included significant feedback, including every employee being asked to complete a position description questionnaire called a PDQ. In addition, they had a number of meetings, one-on-one interviews, focus groups. In addition to the A&P positions that were reviewed, there were 23 career service positions that during the course of the prior phase were determined to be closely enough related to work done on the A&P level to be considered alongside the A&P positions. So of those 23, Fox Lawson has recommended moving 20 of them into the A&P ranks, 3 of them remain in career service, and through the course of their evaluation, they're recommending that 2 A&P positions actually move to career service. I think it's important to reiterate that at no time do any of these adjustments mean a loss in pay. So whether someone's position is moving in whatever direction, there is never an adjustment to pay that is down. Fox Lawson's evaluation method for approaching this is called the decision band method, and that method focuses on the decision-making of a job, the supervisory responsibilities associated with that job, and the complexity and difficulty of the job responsibilities. They also did a lot of comparing of SPC positions to comparable positions outside the college when developing their recommendations. This is a snapshot of how Fox Lawson found our data compares to the market. And the most important takeaway from this is the tightness of the lines shows how closely aligned with the market we already are. So the dotted lines, which represent SPC, and the solid line, which represents the market average, show that we are already very competitive. On this, by the way, the x-axis represents the DBM values that Fox Lawson applied during their internal evaluation, and those decision band method values on that axis eventually translated into what we call our grades for our positions. So as I mentioned, we are competitive. How competitive? Well, the good news is highly competitive. Our salaries were found to be only on average 1.5% below market, and plus or minus 5% is considered to be highly competitive. Nonetheless, there are some positions that we found needed to be adjusted. So in considering that, the approach that we held during the career service portion and during this phase as well is increased to the minimum. People's compensation, if it is already within the range of their grade, are not being adjusted. Fox Lawson's role was to identify the appropriate schedule, make market adjustments, and then identify positions that were below the new entry for the grade where their position should be slotted. Again, this is exactly how we approach the career service adjustments. So the estimated combined cost from both phases at the bottom of this is $423,000. That's the annualized cost for the career service changes we made before, those that are being recommended for the A&P phase, which is only about 0.37% of our total annual personnel costs. For a different breakdown of this, there are 350 employees whose positions were reviewed during this phase. And this is how the 70 positions broke down among those who are getting pay adjustments. If approved by the board today, all employees in this phase, whether or not they get an adjustment, every employee in this phase will get a personalized letter telling them their title, their grade, their compensation change, if any, and they will get that by the end of this week. Any pay adjustments will be in the April 15th paycheck, with retroactive pay back to the first pay of this month. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, let me
Yeah, go ahead.
just state my point. We did this in 3 phases. We did faculty, then we did career, then we did administrative and professional. My unswerving goal has been really 3 parts. 1, make sure there's internal equity as best we can do it across different positions and different campuses. Again, that's 1. 2, make sure that our people are fairly compensated in the market. I don't want to be losing good employees for a couple of dollars to a hospital or the school district or someone else. That was 2. And 3rd is to have a structure for compensation where we have a reasonable expectation that we can hire people in at the base or close to the base within a very narrow range, so that we are not every time we get a position jumping all over to make it look like we're hiring a person rather than somebody for a position. And I am comfortable that after a long trail here, we have delivered ourselves to that position, okay? We did it with some care, probably slower than I'm used to working, but answering every question along the way and feeling that we now have a system that treats every employee fairly. And that's why I'm comfortable recommending to you. There may be other things that you want to question or whatnot, but I'm telling you, it's here today because I'm comfortable making this recommendation.
Dr. Law, when was the last time a compensation study has been done?
1998.
And if this is approved today, when would you expect that we would revisit a study like this?
You see a little smile on my face. I've been very candid. I want to do this once while I'm here, okay? But no, what happens is when it gives you the triggers to say when you should look. When you find that you can't hire at the entry levels, it tells you that you have a structural problem in what you're trying to do. If we can't hire people within a narrow band, so my point, Mr. Brett, is I don't know when, but we have triggers built in to say it may be worth going back into. Notice we broke out IT. You always have to focus on IT. That's a market that we don't control, and it's very competitive. So I think we can live with this system for a good long while. People understand it. They know how to move through it. They know what the decision points are. The jobs are all documented. I think we have teased out a lot of the personal parts that get in the way and have substituted those with factual parts.
It's fine. Any comments?
Well, because it is structurally, I just trying to go through the information, and I want. Do we put the institution behind at all a month if I make a recommendation to I don't want to?
No, I
just want to do due diligence,
Yeah, no,
and actually go through some of their information, which. It wasn't.
I'm very comfortable with that.
I'm not saying it's, like I said, it could be very well and great. I just feel that I'm not fully up to date.
Dr. Law, why don't we do this? Why don't we have an individual meeting with each board member
Okay.
if you can, and let's talk about what the changes are within the study. Because it is a study, and we just want to make sure that everybody is brought up to speed on what are the real effects. We see it from the periphery here. We have a lot of information, but I think in the one-on-one meetings, you do a good job of making sure we understand all the things that are going to happen. For example, I wrote down increase to the minimum. Well, it is a study, and increasing to the minimum sometimes it defeats the purpose if the person's been serving that job for 15 years at, a lower rate. They have been harmed in a sense because they haven't been at the minimum for the last 15 years and have more job responsibility. So that may be something that you as the president has to evaluate as opposed to just leaving it to the study.
You're right.
So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Maybe we just sit down and you can individually bring us up to speed on everything or as close to everything that you see as the big picture items, what we're actually buying here once we buy it. We want to make sure that we don't have some faculty and other folks or professional people coming saying, you didn't think about this or you didn't discuss this. As a board, I think, talking to you about it one-on-one will give us that opportunity.
And I think that's a very good suggestion, because we know where the close questions have come. We know where we've had to hold people's hands. We know where we've had to say yes,
especially.
but not yes, no, but not no. And I'm happy sharing that. It's not appropriate to share it in an open forum.
Right.
So we'll get that done in the next week or two, and
Thank you.
make sure everybody has.
So what we're going to do is, you asking to table this till next
Motion
month?
to table it to the April meeting.
Okay, till the April meeting.
Yeah.
You okay with that, Mr. Brett?
Till April?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Unless it-
Mr.
Do we
Chair, I
need to
just
make a
want to
motion?
confirm, the whatever decision we made will be retroactive to the same date, though. Nobody should.
No, yeah,
yeah, I would not
Okay,
want
let's
that
let's
to
make
anyone
sure we don't
negative.
create a problem.
And I would say that we not move it from the April meeting.
Yeah.
If you want to, let's just take the motion to make sure that comes up on the April meeting agenda. That gives us all time sensitive to make sure that we meet with you, Dr. Law, over the next 30 days. So you made a motion? Mr. Brett, you second?
Second.
It's been seconded that we move this to the April meeting. Any discussion? None seeing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposing, and we'll take this up at our April
All
meeting.
right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Finance report?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see where my clicker here. Two things today. I want to give you a quick, just the financial update again, and then talk a little bit about the budget and where we are in the development of the budget for next year. You're seeing a similar trend that you saw last month. Couple things that I want to point out. We did, I think last month I said we had not received our first lottery payment. Well, we did get it, but it was less than what we anticipated. We're still about $500,000 behind on the lottery, just from a timing standpoint. So I expect that is going to catch up by the end of the year. They've just gone to a little different approach this year, and they've narrowed down the number of payments. So it's affecting what you're seeing there. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, is because Jared mentioned about the dual enrollment on the tuition side, and it occurs to me that if we received or were receiving tuition for dual enrollment or a general revenue equivalent, we would not have a budget deficit. That's last time I looked was over $2 million in tuition that we're providing. So it is very significant to what you see happening here. You can also see that we've the real key now to the end of the year spending. You can see that we're below the projection of expense, and we will continue that through the end of the year to make sure that we do not exceed the revenue, the budgeted revenue by the end of the year. On the year-over-year table that you see in front of you, this really reflects where you see I put it in green, the $500,000 that we're behind in lottery, and at the bottom you can see in green the major areas where we've curbed spending, mostly in materials and supplies, capital purchases, and tech refresh and leases. And a lot of those, the technology, if tuition goes down, the technology fees go down, so we particularly focus on curbing some of the technology spending. We still, excuse me, have a surplus of $4.1 million, and so we're in good shape as far as that goes, but we will watch the spending very carefully. Any questions on the financial side? Let me jump then to the budget development process. One of the first things that we've had to do is bring our budget in line with where we expect to be July 1 as a starting point. You've heard me talk about that earlier. And so we're looking at about a $3 million adjustment that we needed to make before we even start about thinking about other revenue or what we may receive from the state. We have gotten some preliminary information from the governor's budget, but of course that's likely to be changed during the process. What I'm going to show you basically for next year anticipates no enrollment or tuition increase. It anticipates a continuation of this year's capital improvement fee cap adjustment. Last year the legislature allowed that cap to go from 10% to 20%, but we can only do $2 a year. So we've anticipated that from the discussion last year. We do anticipate, we know there is going to be a retirement system cost increase, and what you're going to see is that the governor's budget included new revenue, but basically it just takes it back in the retirement payment, but you'll see that when I show you the detail. We have looked at our health plan this year, and we've seen our reserve get back up to a healthy level. We've such that part of our contribution, the college's budget, goes into the funding of the reserve. So if the reserve gets healthy, and we anticipate we can back that off about $600,000 next year, and again you'll see that on the detail. We've included also the annualized salary schedule study cost. So we had the faculty, the A&P, which you saw today, and then the career. So we've annualized those costs and just included them so we could see how it affects our July 1 stance. We have anticipated continuation of our very strong technology refresh plan. We made a lot of progress over the last few years, and we're continuing that. We also plan to continue the discretionary campus capital improvement funding. Every campus gets a pool of money for which they can use for capital improvement expenses and so on needs. One of the larger areas, we had to look at various, how do we adjust $3 million in the budget? Well, one of the big ones you'll see is that this proposal anticipates a shift of technology infrastructure costs to the capital improvement budget. I've talked quite extensively with some of my colleagues at the other schools, and we've actually over the years been behind in the costs that we have expensed on the capital improvement side and have kept in the Fund 1 budget. So it's but it's going to help us a lot as we move forward. You can see we project next year on our tuition. We budgeted $61.3 million this year. We anticipate with that flat enrollment and no tuition about $58.6, that's the bulk of the reduction. The rest are the technology fee and distance fee revenues that are associated with tuitions. That's the bulk of the $3 million. What you're also seeing there is the $1.3 million in state appropriation and the general revenue increase. That's the money that was in the governor's budget that is offset by the increase in the retirement system. We also anticipate receiving about $100,000 in operating cost of new facilities. The other large category you see is other revenues. That is primarily attributable to just the reduction of federal indirect costs that we receive from grants. We think Jackie Skirt's doing a great job. We've seen a decline there. That's a worst case scenario. I anticipate as we grow grants that will go back up. So all in all, we're looking at about $1.7 million in reduced revenue. Now on the expense side, you can see particularly, I think earlier we brought you some reorganizations. We've saved about $300,000 in just reducing administrative positions. We had a reorganization of facilities. The bulk of that, well, all of that is built into that number. On the career side, the $390,000, you see there isn't so much attributable to positions as it is turnover, hiring in. Since we completed the career service study and we've been hiring more people at or within 10% of the minimum rate, that's just released revenue from hiring people at lower rates from people who've been in positions for long periods of time. You see on the employee benefits portion there, the 1.2 or 1.1 million is the projected increase in our retirement costs, so that just offsets that revenue. We have a slight reduction in FICA Medicare, but that's just from the reduction of the positions. The big number there you see is the $643,000 is what we believe we can reduce our contribution to the reserve next year. And we've seen a very fortunate stabilization in the health plan and the claims and so on since we changed to the HSA earlier in the year. There's about another $200,000 that we've typically budgeted on a recurring basis for it's really terminal leave payments. When people leave, we pay out their vacation. But we also have considerable lapse money from when a position is vacant while we're advertising, and we realize we can fund that $200,000 very easily from lapse money. The bigger portions of the reductions you see here with the red numbers on the right come in the technology expense and licensing, the computer technology refresh leases, and the one-time capital purchases. Those three that I just mentioned would all be moved to capital improvement fee and be funded by that adjustment in the capital improvement fee. So we're dealing with a large part of our budget deficit by transferring those costs over to the Fund 70 side. The other small part there, the $200,000, as you know, we carry a contingency. Last year it was $1.2 million. We propose reducing that just to get us down to where we have a balanced budget. With this scenario, that basically puts us at essentially a balanced budget for July 1, assuming no other changes. So with that said, I'll answer any questions. I think that's...
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is where we had wanted to deliver ourselves. We now have in front of you a balanced budget that does not anticipate a Christmas gifts from the legislature. If the legislature puts more money into our budget, we can bring you recommendations as to where we would want to put those resources as they come available. But if nothing else happens, we can live with this budget comfortably, responsibly, and moving forward. We have a good long list of things we want to do, but I think Doug and his team have done a good job of getting us to where new decisions can go with new monies, and in the next 60 or 90 days, we'll present those to you for your guidance and approval. But that's where we are. Let's make sure everybody understands how we have delivered ourselves to this, and then we have just one or two other items we want to talk about today on this. Oh, back up, I don't want to do this one yet. I want to get to that. I want to make sure we haven't gone too fast on the other pieces yet.
I have a question.
Mr. Brett?
Dr. Duncan, could you go back to the previous page?
This one?
The compensated absences that you said that
Yes.
you're going to be covering that with unfilled position salaries. Is this the first year that you've done that?
We actually started budgeting this, I don't know, it was probably 7 or 8 years ago. At the time, it was growing, and we also had a salary schedule at the time that we were hiring people in at very advanced rates, and hence that's why we went through this all these compensation studies that we've done. And so we were bringing people in. We did not have near the lapse money at the end of the year that we will have going forward. So I anticipate, as we still have a lot of retirements coming up, as we hire people in at lower rates, we will continue. I'm only showing the 300,000 for 1 year up there in the career. I anticipate we'll have far more than that and enough to fund this without having to budget it as a separate item.
Is this the first year that you've done this?
Since I've done this, yes.
And so, can you guesstimate, like annually, what that lapse number is?
Well, we typically end up with about $2 million. I mean, it depends on turnover. I mean, it depends on the number of retirements and so on. But we've typically had between $1 million and $2 million in lapse money at the end of the year.
Mr. Brett, it'll be between 2 and 3% of budgeted salaries. Almost a given. It will be between 2 and 3%. You just can't hire fast enough.
Right.
So there is always some. That's how we make it work at the end of the year. I mean,
Sure,
this is not.
yeah.
But you should see what the turnover when you have a salary schedule that you can hire at, and you're not putting people 40% higher than the base for whatever reasons occur to you.
It's just, to my recollection, that's the first time I had noticed
Right.
that, so, yeah. That's all,
Okay.
thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I have, Doug, if you would, I want to have one discussion today to be sure that I'm comfortable with the board and I'm not getting you where you don't belong, and if I'm where I don't belong, today's a good day to do it. I am still committed to try to find some recognition of compensation for our employees, okay? They went without a pay raise last year. I'd really like that not to happen 2 years in a row. Certainly everybody in Tallahassee is trying to make that work. I have laid out for you, the numbers work out nicely. For every 1%, we need to find about $1 million. So it's doable, but not those. There are two things there's only two ways we can keep cutting budgets to create the $2 million if we want to do 2%. Or the normal way is to do a tuition increase. Well, I don't think that's what I don't think we're going to get authority to do tuition increase so that we can turn it into raises. That wouldn't seem to me to be, I'm not up for reappointment, but that's not a dialogue I'd want to have with the governor, okay? I think we have every reason to believe, though, that we can put together an aggressive, and it's not even an undoable, growth plan. If we were to grow by 3.5%, we would create $2 million in additional revenue, and that wouldn't upset anybody's apple cart. That's a logical way to go. We're not taking the new legislative money to pay for that. We're not taking any support the governor gives us for that. We're not raising tuition to do that. That's the growth. That's all of us working hard to keep the students we have and to get new students in. What I'd like to propose to you is a plan that says, let me propose a plan that would do at least 2%. I'll find the cash for next year If we grow, we'll move that into people's base budget. If we don't, they will have gotten a one-time adjustment that helps them meet current bills. I mean, all of them have to fill up the gas tank, all of them have bills that all of us have. But our team's doing great work. I care a lot about the people who are at the entry and parts of the scale. I don't want to leave them hanging, and if we can do something for them, I'd like to see if I can't get you to support me on that.
Oh, yes.
I absolutely would support that, a minimum of 2, and see where the numbers, where the growth comes in, and if we can do more, I would support that 100%.
As I would.
Dr. Law, I have to tell you, I'm with the rest of the board on this, but I will tell you this. I'm for no one working every year and not at least getting a raise for CPI. You know, you have to understand the economy changes all the time. Gas prices go up. If people are being evaluated and they meet the minimum standards, they should get some raise. So, and, you know, I'm not going to go head to head with the governor on that, but I will tell you that I would tell him that too. I mean, if people are working, they meet, he's already asked for us to evaluate folks. We do that well from what this study just showed us, and we're doing a good job with that. And then folks should get an increase. And I believe it's every year. I mean, but if we can't afford to do it every year, we should at least look to do it the way the board is. You know, these gentlemen agree with you, and I definitely agree.
I'll bring back a plan that we can all noodle around with and hammer into shape next month. Thank you for your support. That's very important to me.
Okay. Let me just real quickly show you what the calendar is. Next month, we anticipate, over the next 2 months, bringing you first a more refined budget in April as we get more information from the legislature. We will bring you for preliminary approval the final budget in May, and then formal approval in June, and then we'll submit it to the state on June 30th. So it pretty much follows what we did last year. Okay.
Thank you.
We will know a lot more at the end of this week. I mean, we'll start seeing the framework. The House and Senate are going to, March 28th is D-Day H hour for those guys, so.
Conference should be fun this year.
Oh, they ought to sell tickets.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Law. I'm pleased this morning to bring you an update of the St. Petersburg College Foundation. We will take a look at a 3-year period, the contributions over a 3-year period, starting with fiscal year 2011, moving to 2012 and 2013. We are currently in our fiscal year, which ends, unlike the college, the foundation's fiscal year ends March 31st. In 2011, we raised $800,000, just over $800,000. This year, through February 28th, we have brought in $1.25 million. And I want to make clear that these are strictly contributions. These are exclusive of fees, earnings, or in-kind gifts. Taking a look at the comparison by quarter, our quarter end June 30, September 30, December 31st, and March 31st. We see a nice upward trend that continues across all quarters, and we were very fortunate to end our last quarter, December 31st of last year, with $595,000 in contributions. So we're very pleased to report that to you today. A comparison by number and type of gifts. In 2011, we received 600 gifts. We grew that in 2012 to 654 gifts, and through February 28th this year, we've received 769 gifts. We've seen a like growth in our donor base, and donors distinguished from gifts. Donors can and do, thankfully, give more than one gift per year. This year so far, we've received 600, and we have 651 donors. By far, our largest program is our scholarship program. We've received 451 gifts for our scholarship program. Our gifts for programs at 244. I see this area as a huge potential for growth for the foundation, and we will be focusing a lot of our energies in that area in the coming months and years. Tribute gifts, those are gifts made in memory or in honor of an individual. We've seen growth there as well as in our online gifts, and we expect that in the coming months and years we're going to continue to see gifts made online versus by check or by credit card. Comparison by source, by far. our gifts come more from individuals than any other source. We've received so far this year 549 gifts from individuals. Corporate gifts, 45. Again, this is an area that we will be focusing our energies. I think as we get more out into the community and talk to the business community about the work of the college and how they are probably one of the #1 beneficiaries of the outcomes of this college, I think that those gifts will continue to grow. Clubs and organizations, that's represented mostly by the Rotaries throughout Pinellas County. Foundation gifts, a little bit of a dip there, but we're not too concerned. Planned gifts, we're holding about steady. And gift comparison by gift size, starting at $1,000 and upwards to $100,000 plus. We've seen the majority of the growth in the mid-range from the $5,000 to the $50,000 gift. We've brought in so far 104 gifts this year over $1,000. You can see that as the size of the gift gets smaller, the number of gifts increase. So while we want to pay a lot of attention to the large gifts and bringing in those major gifts, and we will be devoting a lot of our attention there in the time ahead, it is those smaller gifts sometimes that help sustain you on an annual basis. In the nonprofit world, we talk about donor touches, and that's simply about how we communicate with our friends and loved ones, how we thank them and recognize their gifts, and how we also create opportunities for them to become involved and engaged in the work of the college and the foundation. Every one of our donors receives a gift acknowledgement letter within 3 days of receipt of the gift. They also receive a President's Thank You letter within 30 days of the gift, and those are for gifts over $1,000. We send out student thank you letters to all of our scholarship sponsors, and that's up to 3 times a year that those letters go out, and that coincides with when a particular scholarship is awarded. Some scholarships are awarded every term, others 1 or 2 terms over the academic year. We provide program updates, foundation newsletter 4 to 6 times a year, and then we have several events. Our scholarship luncheon is going to be held tomorrow. I'm so pleased to tell you we have 3 outstanding students that will be sharing their stories at our luncheon tomorrow. We have our Innovation Grants Initiative luncheon and a variety of other events and functions. One of the most popular has been the President's Roundtable that we started last year. What we started a year ago, January, was the donor account summary statements that we mail out every year, well, starting last year, and we continue this January, to our donors to show them the contributions to their account, the disbursements, and the earnings. And I tell you, this has been met with such great enthusiasm. We've even received calls from our friends and contributors thanking us for this statement, and so we will continue that effort in the years ahead. I wanted to conclude the report with a scholarship update. So far, this academic year, we have made awards of $987,000 to 1,410 students. We have awarded for fall and spring, and the summer selection is currently in progress, and we feel confident that at the end of that we will have awarded well over $1 million to approximately 1,500 students. The average foundation scholarship award is $700 this year. The foundation also participates in first-generation scholarships. We raised in the past year $81,000 for scholarships, for first-generation scholarships, which is matched by the state. This is the only remaining program that we get a state match for, and we were able to award $163,000 for first-generation students in sessions 1 and 2. And that was a little bit of a mistake. The foundation did not award that. We raised the money, applied for the grant, but the college's financial aid department makes those selections and awards, and was able to award 818 students first-generation scholarship awards. Any questions?
Any questions?
Where does the foundation stand?
Where do we stand?
Yes. The dollar amount.
Oh, right now?
Right now.
I expect by the end of the month, or at the end of our fiscal year, we'll be about $1.3 million just in contributions. Again, that's not earnings or fees. So
The total balance.
Oh, we manage about $48 million.
$48 million?
Yes.
It's been doing well the last couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Yes, last year was particularly good. We received our updates from our money managers in February, and we have received some very, very good returns that we're very pleased with.
I just want to say, Francie, you've done a wonderful job. I mean, over the last year and a half, all the numbers trending the right way. So congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you very much.
Definitely agree. Thank you. Academic matters, there's none. I will open the public hearing for the rules manual. Are there any public speakers? None. I will close the public hearing for the rules and the, do we have to vote on those?
Yes.
No, yes, we have to vote, I'm sorry. Do I hear a
approval.
motion to approve? Mr. Brett?
Second.
It's been seconded by Captain Fine. Is there any discussion? None. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, none opposing. We carry that, and I'll close the public hearing. Any presentations from the public, Dr. Law?
No, sir.
We're down to the President's report.
2 or 3 very quick items. You got to make hay while the sun shines. You all received copies of the financial
Oh, yeah.
audit.
That was good.
Congratulations.
It's always
Congrats.
Excellent.
nice. You want to put a sphagnum armor on me when I open that front page to see what's going to be on there, okay? But our team does a great job with that. Teresa Furness and Doug and his team do a wonderful job. That's 1. 2, I did share with you a communication regarding an exciting proposition regarding some economic development in Midtown. And we continue to work very aggressively with that manufacturing company. I suspect we'll have another round of meetings within the next couple of days, just so I don't mislead anybody. It's a 2-step process. They're looking at a facility that's very proximate to Midtown. I'm not sure if it's exactly in Midtown, but then they intend to build. All I want to be sure is that we partner with them, but that we have our own identity with that, because we are going to train for a variety of people. So I can't just do it for them. We don't do that in healthcare or anything else. They're very, very willing partners. Speed to market is what they have going for them, and we need to match with them. So I will keep you abreast. I don't know what the next actual pieces will be, but we are working very closely with them on that. And then 2 or 3 things legislatively. Literally today and tomorrow, the first cuts of the budget will come out. Ed Woodruff and I walked around Friday afternoon, talked with as many staff as would listen with us, and we did have good interactions with some senior staff. I don't know when we'll know the exact impact on the colleges. They roll this out in 2 or 3 steps. Here's what we're trying to accomplish with the budget, and here's how much money is in it, and then it takes a little while before you can say, and therefore your piece is this much. The critical pieces are, though, that the governor's initiative to solve what's called the compression issue, that is, to be sure the colleges that have grown extraordinarily fast get recognized for that growth, that's going to get, the legislature is not buying a 1-year fix on that. They are spreading that money out over a period of time. That's good news for us, because we were not going to get anything in the super fast growth dollars, so we can look for that to happen. On the problem side, the issue regarding the funding of developmental education is getting more contentious by the day. The Senate and its committee is going to come out with a plan that probably identifies about $120 million in the Florida college system budget that's going to developmental education, and does different things. Some of it will come back to us in form of tutors and other kinds of things. Some of it may be moved to adult ed programs, is what their proposal calls for. I'm anxious to hear the dialogue as to how that will help students. Now, the reality is we have to do a better job in developmental education. People come to this concern legitimately. The numbers do not create the kind of confidence that we create across all of our enterprise. We're going to have to keep our eye on that in the Senate. The House, conversely, is saying, you guys are working as hard as you can. We're going to give you way more latitude in what you do in developmental. We have been saying, get us off this semester system. Let us do individual plans for students. Let us rifle shot prescriptions so that students can accelerate into college classes faster. And the House is very willing for that to happen. So we're working both sides of the street on that. And then lastly, we remain cautious but optimistic that our orthotics and prosthetics still has life, and if it has any life at the end of this week, I'm going to feel really good. At that point, we'll know exactly how to lobby for it, but we are getting supportive signals from both sides on this one. We can't quite figure out what the trigger mechanism is to get it exactly in the budget, but we had a good week on that last week. I don't know of any other things noodling around legislatively. The big issues are big, and the online learning, nobody knows where that's headed. That one is in midair. Mr. Chairman, we were up there last week. We're not going to get there this week. Next week, I'll spend some more time. I know you spend some time.
Yeah.
We'll
If
keep
you
everybody
need, if you
informed.
need any of us, just let us know.
Yeah, and I'll do that in a
We'll
heartbeat.
do that. Any future agenda items that any of the board members would like to see on the agenda?
No, we're
No?
good.
Good.
I'd like to, at some point, not immediately, but just what we do for safety on our campus.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
I just think
okay.
it's appropriate because of the time and
No,
what's happened, and I know we had a small altercation at the Gibbs campus this past month, so just would like to be curious to see what we do and the people that head that for us.
Very appropriate question. Sorry, I didn't get in front of that. Yeah, and we've taken another look in the last couple of months to go through. We'll bring you all that overview. Thank you. Good suggestion.
Our next meeting date is here on April 16th. Look forward to seeing you all. Meeting adjourned.